All right, well, welcome back if you were here last week. And if you're new, welcome here. And also, if you're new, you don't know, you'll probably be here barking throughout this. That's one of our dogs. If you were on here last week on Instagram, thank you for your patience and your persistence with the live. I saw that there were several people trying to connect, and there was just some issue with connecting to Instagram. I don't know what happened, but also if you haven't been here before, I am trying to talk to both Instagram and Facebook at the same time because I have people in both places who wanted to talk about this topic, or talk about Mother's Day. So sorry if it looks weird that I'm looking at two different places. After this week, I'm going to be doing one at a time, but it was hard to fit in doing these each on each site. So, all right, let's get going. And if you're here live, say hi. If you're watching on replay, say #replay. Yeah, I know I'm not the only one, I guess, whose dogs sound like that. At least right now, it's just the one dog. Not all three dogs barking. Okay. So again, say hi if you're here live and type in #replay if you're watching the replay. Nice to see all of you, and let's get going. All right, so just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know me. I'm Gail Miller. I'm a physician and a life coach. My practice is about empowering women who are childless not by choice to live fulfilling lives and manage triggers and fears. Hi, it's so nice to see people on here, so thank you for joining. Okay, so let's talk about aging without children and Mother's Day. Now, a lot of people automatically assume this is just for people who they think are old. I am not here to judge anybody by their age. Some people might think I'm old, some people might think I'm young. I don't really care. I just feel how I feel, and I don't care about age. So this isn't about age, even though the title is about aging without children. But Mother's Day can be such a painful day for a lot of people, many different reasons. When you don't have a child and you dearly want one, it's especially painful. And then when you add in the thoughts about, as you get older, who's going to be there with me? Mother's Day can feel like there's a light shining brightly on that fear, on that worry, and it just feels so much more intense. You look around and you see friends and family with their kids, and I don't know about you, but I do, and I do this, and I know several others who see that and also imagine their futures, their kids' futures, kind of, the way we've already imagined when you want a child, you've imagined that child and their future, preschool, high school, and on and on. And so sometimes when you're seeing everybody else with their kids on Mother's Day, you start thinking about their kids' futures and their grandkids. Or maybe you are at a point now where your friends are having grandchildren. So you think about the fact that you're not just missing out on being a mom on Mother's Day, but you're missing the feeling of being grandma, Nana, Gigi, whatever you want to call it. You're missing out on that feeling, or you will be missing out if you don't already have people in your lives, friends in your lives that have grandchildren. So I know there will be plenty of you who say, well, there are plenty of seniors who do have kids and their kids don't do anything with them. They're not there for them. And trust me, I see this all the time. My mom is in memory care. My parents were in assisted living. I saw it all the time that there are people living in these places who never ever see their kids, never ever hear from them. But when you are childless, you know that you're going to be alone, and it's really painful, and that pain is heightened on Mother's Day. So there's nothing wrong with you if this fear is lurking in the back of your mind, or maybe it's not in the back of your mind. It's right up there and you're really concerned about it. It's all normal. But let's talk about how you can get through this time leading up to Mother's Day and Mother's Day, because it's not just Mother's Day that is painful. The time leading up to it, because everybody's planning on it. What are you getting for your mom? People in stores are already wishing women, when you check out, oh, have a happy Mother's Day. And it's like, oh, I'm not a mom. So it's already started. The pain, the reminders, they start long before Mother's Day and then Mother's Day. Sometimes by Mother's Day, you're just numb. But sometimes on Mother's Day, that pain is just, it has grown. So let's give you some tips. Let's talk about how you can get this time up until then and Mother's Day, get through it in a less painful way, maybe in a way that you feel like you can thrive. So the first thing that I want you to do is start thinking outside that box. Rethink your definition of mother or grandmother. Society typically thinks of a mother as someone who is giving to her kids and is nurturing them, but it can be so much more than just giving to your kids and nurturing them. So I want you to think outside the box and consider who it is that you help and who is it that you nurture. Is it a friend, a coworker, a neighbor? Is it you nurture clients through work? Is it an animal? You think outside the box. It does not have to be a human. How do you fulfill that need to nurture? You do. So think through this and rethink your definition of mother or grandmother and recognize yourself for what you do to help others and how you nurture people. Maybe it's not necessarily another person, it's this earth. What do you do to leave this earth a better place for other people? What do you do to leave a mark on someone, anyone, through the day to make them feel better? And I know you all do. This is not something that is, only certain people do. I know you all are nurturing other people or other beings or this world in some way. So give yourself that credit. Think about all the good that you do and rethink that definition of mom or grandma and remind yourself of all the good you do and the people and things you nurture. The second is, think about how you nurture yourself. Or do you? We think self-care is selfish, and it's not. It's actually healthy. So if you've ever flown, you know that on the flight, their pre-flight instructions, they tell you in the event of a crash, put your oxygen on first. I mean, think about it. If you're crashing and you don't put your oxygen on, you are going to pass out. How are you going to help the person next to you if it's a family member or just you want to help someone else? So self-care isn't selfish. It is the same thing as putting on that oxygen in case of a crash. You can't take care of anyone else, nurture anyone else, if you're not being good to yourself, if you're not nurturing yourself. Self-care means different things for everybody. It could mean gardening. It could mean taking your dog for a walk. It could mean going for a hike or getting a pet, whatever kind of pet. Yep, it is true. We need to really think about ourselves and taking care of ourselves. It is not selfish, but what that means is very different for everyone. And self-care is also setting boundaries. And that boundary may be telling the mother figure in your life on Sunday, I'm taking care of myself. I'm going to be doing something that brings me joy. So I can't spend the day with you. Or I'm going to be taking care of myself by staying away from everybody because it's a hurtful day. That is self-care as well. Or maybe you will spend time with this mother figure in your life, but instead of the whole day like you usually do, you're gonna spend only part of the day. That is self-care. Setting boundaries is healthy and healthful. Okay, sorry again for the people who aren't. I'm looking at both Instagram and Facebook because there's people on both. Okay, the other way you can nurture yourself is with support groups. If there isn't one locally, find one online. I will be hosting a circle of support on Saturday, May 13th, the day before Mother's Day, at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. But there are many different support groups that you can join, and there are support groups on Mother's Day. So again, if there isn't one locally, find one online. You don't have to go through this alone. Next tip, reach out to someone who is also alone. And again, think outside the box. This may be someone who has children, but those children aren't around for whatever reason. There's not a good relationship, or they live out of town. Connect with someone who you know is also alone on Mother's Day. And it doesn't have to be in person. In person is typically, more comforting, but not always, and it's not always possible. So find that person you know who is also alone and connect with them, even if it is virtually. Make the day about you in whatever way feels right to you. There's no rules. There's no right or wrong. Obviously don't do something to be harmful to someone else, but there's no rules. If what feels right for you is to curl up in bed, that's fine. Curl up on the couch and binge on Netflix or whatever you happen to choose to binge on. That's fine. Make the day about you and what will give you comfort and be meaningful for you. Another way to make the day, less painful or maybe even thrive is to volunteer. Volunteering helps counteract the effects of stress, anger, anxiety. It helps to boost self-confidence, and it gives a sense of purpose. And there are so many different opportunities for volunteering. You can volunteer, at a senior home. You can volunteer at a shelter. Volunteer if you're into, gardening. You can volunteer at a botanic garden, whatever. There are so many ways to volunteer. And you may want to do that on Mother's Day, or you may want to do it before. If that's something where you decide, like, hey, Mother's Day, I want to be on my own. I do want to curl up in bed and pretend the world doesn't exist. But try to find a time to do some volunteering, because it will make a world of difference in your outlook and your feeling of purpose. Next tip, do something on your bucket list. I don't know how many of you have bucket lists. I don't actually have a formal one written down, but I know there are things that I want to do before I kick the bucket. And so pick one of those that's doable, that won't involve you being around any triggers, and do that. Cross it off your bucket list, and you'll feel a sense of accomplishment. If you are somebody who is part of your faith is part of your life, reach out to your faith community. Even if you haven't been an active participant, find a community with your faith who will invite you in, who will include you. And again, there may not be, every place is different. Some are more open than others to really making sure you feel included and not isolated because you're not a mom, or whatever it is that's going on with you. But we're talking about Mother's Day here. So there are every community is different. So find a community within your own faith that will invite you in and include you. Again, you don't have to have been an active participant. A community should be willing to see that you need to be included with them and welcome you with open arms. So if there's not somebody locally, again, go online. I know there are many, many churches and synagogues, and I believe mosques as well, who in different religions, houses of worship, who are now offering online services and online support groups. So seek that out if faith is part of your life. Stay home and away from everyone if that's what feels right for you. You don't have to take whoever the mother figure is in your life out to brunch. If walking into that restaurant and being surrounded by all of these people celebrating something you can't celebrate for yourself, you may be able to for your mom or whoever else, but you don't have to go out. So stay away from all of those public places, public gatherings and events that don't work for you or will trigger you. Okay. The last tip is the same tip I give every time, which is manage social media. It may work better for you to be off of it altogether, but that may, for some of you, may leave you feeling more isolated because there are communities of childless women that you can interact with and connect with on social media. Or you have friends who are also childless or single and childless, and that's how you connect because, they don't live near you. So sometimes totally shutting off social media isn't the answer because it can leave some people feeling more isolated. But you can manage the settings so that you can mute certain conversations, certain groups, certain people. If you know that there are a particular group of friends this is what they're going to be posting on and it's too painful, you don't have to unfriend them or unfollow them. You can mute them. So manage social media so that in a way that doesn't make you feel isolated and more on the outside. All right, I want to recap tips for managing this time that is feeling worse than typical for women who are childless, not by choice, and kind of sometimes highlights the fears we have of getting older. So to start with, just a quick recap, rethink your definition of mother and grandmother and recognize yourself for those you do help and have nurtured. Nurture yourself. Self-care isn't selfish. Find support groups. Reach out to someone else who's alone on this day. Make the day about you and your needs, what you need. Don't care what other people think. Just do what you need to. That's called setting boundaries. It's not mean, it's not selfish. Volunteer. It doesn't have to be that day, but volunteer. It will give you an incredible sense of purpose. Thank you. I'm glad that you like this list. And then stay home if it works for you and manage your social media. Okay, so those are my tips for preparing for Mother's Day, this difficult time for us. I'm going to be back here again on Thursday evening, same time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. That I'm going to be talking that day about Mother's Day, again, being childless, not by choice, and your relationship with your own mom, which maybe she's no longer here. Maybe you don't have a good relationship with her. Maybe you're feeling guilt because you can't give her the grandchild you wanted to give her. There's so many reasons why the relationship with your mom can feel stressed or stressful as Mother's Day approaches and on Mother's Day. And again, to remind you, I'm hosting a Circle of Support on Saturday, May 13th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. It's a way to connect with other women who are childless, not by choice. You're welcome to join on camera or be completely anonymous. It's not going to be recorded. It's going to be, completely private. We prefer if you join on camera because it does help with a sense of connection, but we totally understand if you are not comfortable with that and want to stay off camera. You can also change your name so you can be completely anonymous. For those of you who are on Instagram following this and want to join, click on the link in my bio. For those of you who are on Facebook and want to join, click on the link in the comments. And I can't wait to see you on Thursday. And you guys have a fabulous, fabulous evening or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Bye. And thank you to those who were here and to anybody who's watching on replay. Bye.